We are Sideways Revolt, being interviewed at Bathtub Gin. My name is Dan, I'm the vocalist.
Mike, rhythm guitar.
That's Pablo, the lead guitar.
And he's Claudio, the drummer.
When it was time to play our first show, we actually didn't have a name yet. And we all started creating lists of names, and I had come up with Sideways Revolt and The Sideways Revolt as part of that list. And I brought that name to the gang, and Pablo was like, Sideways Revolt. Let's drop the the. Let's pick the one without the the. And we got some feedback. I think my brother was also like, no, drop the the. So it was like, the rest of the band kind of, they felt good about it, and it was a no-brainer at that point. And it just became Sideways Revolt, right?
Yeah. But it wasn't one of those stories where, you know, people are like thinking about the name and saying what's represent. It was like, you know, let's just put a bunch of names and
It
say
just sounded good right away.
what it is. Yeah, like some time I heard too that the Rolling Stones came up something like that with the name. Apparently they just, you know, they didn't know what the name was going to be, and they just opened a book and they saw the name Rolling Stone or something like that over the song. But I think it was more spontaneous. It fit right, actually. When we heard it, we said like, this is it.
I think I would describe our sound as mainstream / alternative rock and roll. Pablo, if you want to comment on that.
Yeah, I mean that's a question that usually we get asked, and sometimes it's very difficult for us to answer because there are always two things about a band. Everybody asks you, okay, who would you compare to? Which is kind of awkward when you're trying to do your own thing and come up with your own sound and your own ideas and your own signature, let's say. And then the other thing is like rock and roll especially evolved in so many ways that you have so many kinds of rock and roll, like alternative, then you have the grunge and this and that, and suddenly you don't know if you're clearly one or the other. Probably what Dan said is right. We have influences from a lot of like really classic bands and mainstream and like more alternative rock, but probably now we are kind of in that genre, but definitely trying to put out there a signature sound, which hopefully everybody will appreciate in a couple of months or years.
And the reason why I said mainstream, I don't necessarily associate that term with pop music necessarily, but just something that is, I just wanted to highlight the fact that we're not underground or indie or anything like that. So
yeah,
mainstream is more of a, in my opinion, in my mind, that's more of a definition of a just bigger rock and roll kind of sound.
Like something more accessible, I guess, or
That would be one way to put it.
yeah.
We're still carving out our sound. I imagine that's going to continue to evolve over time. So it's kind of hard to kind of place it into one central area.
Yep. Yeah, so we've got a few tracks on SoundCloud, and actually you can probably look us up going to sidewaysrevolt.com. That website is linked with the SoundCloud account. What you'll be able to see on there is actually a brief representation of our music. There's a couple of demo tracks on there that we recently did. They have a very live feeling, live touch to it. You will actually be able to understand that better once you hear the tracks. And a couple of more songs on there that we recorded. Was that back in
late last year? Yeah.
Late last
year. Late last year. Yeah, we started. I think we started recording something like in October or something like that.
September,
year.
October. Yeah.
And there are a couple of songs, and I'm sure you're thinking this too, that they have a common thing, which is
the dark side of the
dark
moon would
side
be
of the rock and roll night, probably.
Yeah, probably all of the, actually most of the stuff that is on SoundCloud at the moment specifically has to do with that side that I mentioned.
Yeah, it's basically dark side of.
I would even put it in a way that we're all, you know, slightly different. We all come from different backgrounds and whatnot, but the darkness is something that we all share in one way or another.
Yeah.
And you can definitely hear that in some of the songs that are on there.
Yeah, during the concert, he actually, which was the song? There was one particular song that you actually introduced as dark.
Resurrect Me.
Yeah. And then Strange, you said actually it's the strangest song we have, and it's actually it's really strange. That was one of the songs.
Yeah.
Um,
And that you can listen to Strange on SoundCloud actually.
we're planning on actually going back to the studio probably March, April. I mean, there's luckily for us, there's some people that are interested in the band, so we're working on that project and trying to put together a great album. So we have a couple of writing sessions coming and working on details of the songs and trying to put the album out there during this year. So first we're now contacting producers, all of us. We're just trying to figure out which is the best way to go, and we want to do something like really, really cool, great album. As we said at the beginning, we're trying to have our own signature, so we're very much working on that too.
That's
It's an interesting
collaboratively
question.
and individually, actually,
Yeah.
has been the theme from the beginning.
Yeah.
It's always been one or the other, I think. Sometimes Pablo will bring in a complete song and we'll just try it. Other times we're just in the studio and we're jamming, and all of a sudden everyone looks at each other and they're like, this is good, let's keep going with this, and that becomes a song for us.
Yeah, like that's actually how Devolution was born. We started jamming, and then Dan was like, "Wait, keep doing that." And then
Exactly.
sort of like instead of just like going on to the regular rehearsal, we just spent like the 2 hours working on it. We like created the basic structure there. And then of course there was a lot of work left to do on it, but yeah, that's how that song was born anyway.
When it comes to songwriting specifically, I'm a true believer in trying to jam, not without thinking about whether you're trying to go for like a specific sound or without even having any lyrics in mind. It's just more of a Pablo would start doing some kind of riff, and Mike would pick up his guitar, do rhythm. Buddy would do his loud, obnoxious thing, and you just kind of roll with it and try to figure out the melody first, and lyrics usually come after that, or at least from that particular process that I'm just describing. Again, that's how Devolution was born. We have a couple of other songs that started off the same way, so it's usually always different. But I actually really, really like that process a lot. The process of starting to jam first, and I think we should do that a little bit more often.
I think so. It worked really well. I think it works really well for us.
Probably some of the most recent material that we consider is really, really good and strong. That's how that was born. So we should probably try to stick to that formula.
And I think that's the most fun by far, is when we're in the studio just jamming.
For
like
sure.
a garage band
Absolutely.
or something.
Yeah, that's. Plus, you go to the studio with one idea, and it's like, okay, we're gonna rehearse this, and that, and suddenly, you plug all the instruments, and you're checking the sound, he's checking the drums, that every distance to his arms are okay, and he
Very
can hit
important.
everything, and blah blah blah. He starts warming up his voice and screaming all around, and suddenly, when we start checking the sound, something starts to happen. It's like creativity from all of us starts to meet at a certain point. So whatever plan you had before the studio, it's completely gone. You forget about it, and it comes just brand new babies. Baby being the song.
Yeah.
Don't get
Just to be
that
clear.
wrong.
Well
Don't
said.
get
Well
that wrong. So
I think dropping a single would be a good idea.
yeah, I mean, we all want to do it, and music has various sides. We have the artistic side where we are very much, familiar with, and we like to develop that part. But then, when it comes to make like business decisions and saying like, okay, it's the time or not to release a single, or should we do it or not? There, as Dan said, there's gonna be other people involved in the team, like producers or managers, that basically they will guide us and say like, okay, guys, this is the way to
Trusted
go. Do it.
advisors.
Yeah,
Yeah,
or-
people have more experience with that basically.
I just want to thank Dave Oz and the Bathtub Gin team for letting us do the interview here. Thanks,
Yeah.
Dave. Thanks, Bathtub Gin.
Thank you very much.
Really
And
appreciate
actually,
it.
it's a pretty cool place. I love
Yeah,
it.
It is.
It's really good.
And thank you guys actually for giving us
Really,
a chance.
thank you very much.